So I thought I would do a video just addressing something that this squirrel scared the cardinals away. Look at him. Okay. I just thought I would do a video just discussing something that I've just really been thinking about a lot lately. And it's just something that it really just kind of hits me at my core. And it's just that I'm just going to come out and say it. A lot of other Christians, they make it not. They make things really annoying sometimes. Like they just. I don't really like to even use the word. I mean, people call. Because I'm a believer myself. I am a believer, but even me being a believer, there's just so much like stuff that I really want that freaking squirrel to go away so I can see some. Hold on a second. Get out of here, squirrel. Scram. Get out. Get out of here. Sorry. But I wanted him to go away so I could like see the birds, because the birds weren't coming because he's there. Maybe they'll come back now. But basically what I'm trying to say is there's just a lot of people who claim to be Christians or followers of God that they just really they make everything a competition. They make everything like, or they shame you or they judge you. Like they just I mean, I just get tired of that. Like I get tired of dealing, and what I'm gonna say specifically is I love my grandma. I love her. I told you guys that. Like I love her. I have a very close relationship with her. But the church stuff really bothers me, especially with her and really almost pretty much all my grandparents, with the exception of maybe my other grandma, my dad's mother. They just have like used it as like you have to like memorize all these verses, and they say, if you don't know it, like they just say, well, there's a lot of judgment. And any time that because my grandma will always ask me if I've gone to church, and if I say no, I didn't go to church, it's like I feel like I get a whole lecture every time. And I just basically feel like she's shaming me that I didn't go to church. And I tend to try to go to church regularly, but I'm not like the person who's just like I don't have to be at church every single time. Like I don't feel the need to go to church every single time, and I don't really think that should define my relationship with Jesus or God. Like it just, and we don't really agree on a lot of the stuff about church anyways. And I was having a conversation with her, and I was just trying to like voice my piece, and she kind of just cuts me down a lot. And I just kind of got really kind of over it, and I kind of just got short with her. I kind of raised my voice a little. I didn't like yell at her, but I kind of like raised my voice that you don't listen to me. You just, every time I say something or I make a slightly, like if I'm not fully agreeing with what you say about church and stuff, like you just start like an argument, and I don't appreciate that. And I kind of snapped at her. I just kind of snapped at her because, and it's not just even just my grandma. It's just there's been a lot of people who are quote Christians or believers, and they just shame you. They try to like act like they're holier than thou, and that if you're not memorizing the word, you know, you're a bad Christian, or you need to be in your word. Like, it's just shaming. It's just constant shaming and guilting, and then it becomes a competition of, oh well, who knows the most Bible verses, or who knows. I'm like, knowing the Bible and actually being a good person are two completely separate things. Like, there's someone who can maybe memorize and know a lot of the Bible, and then they can use things incorrectly or misconstrue the messages. Like, just because somebody knows it, like, doesn't necessarily mean that that person is like really doing what they need to do or being a good follower or whatever. Like, and you know, it's not my place. Like, I mean, I feel like it's not my place to judge other people, or I mean, we all judge people to an extent, but it's not my place to like say how good of a Christian somebody is and how crappy of a Christian they are, or a believer, or whatever. Like, I don't do that. I don't go and just, you know, try to make people feel bad, you know, because it's like, how is that encouraging people to? I think of it like these same people, kind of like my grandma and my grandpa, and these other people who, you know, say they're believers. I mean, I know my grandma is a believer, but these people who are believers, or they say they're believers, they go out to like non-Christians, and then they say all this stuff, and they're just really just condescending and rude, and quite honestly just very unpleasant to be around. And a lot of people who are non-Christians who are around that, or hear that, or experience that, it makes them not want to be a follower. It makes them not want to be a believer, because they don't want to, you know, deal with people like that. And I can't say I fully blame them. I really can't. And it's just something that really bothers me, because I know nobody's perfect. You know, God knows I'm not perfect. I have plenty of issues. But, you know, I'm not sitting here on my high and mighty horse, you know, just because I'm a believer, trying to talk down to people. And, oh, you know, that's just not my style. Like, I want to like encourage people. I want people to encourage me. And the constant condemnation and judginess, it's just, it gets on my nerves, and it gets on my nerves so much. And my grandma, she like is so devoted to her church, like so devoted. Like, there's nothing you could say that would change her mind. Like, she can't take any criticism or any questioning of, you know, her church, because she goes to a rather large church. Like, it's a very, very big church. And I've just gotten to the point where with a lot of churches, especially the bigger ones, I'm just kind of wary in general, because, you know, I'm not saying everyone that's a part of like a big church is a bad person, but like I do think oftentimes in these bigger churches, you know, they get a lot of money, they get a lot of power, and like these people say they're doing these good Christianly things, and they say they're, you know, either donating money to like help people in need, or like, you know, people that are homeless, or whatever the situations are. And I feel like a lot of times they're not actually doing that. Like, I'm just very skeptical, especially of big corporatized like churches. And I think I'm just not gonna say anything else to her or make any comments, because she just takes it on so defensively. And it's like she's one of those people. And again, it's very common with the older generations. They think that just because something has been a way means that it should always be that way. And I'm just here to say I don't agree with that, and I will never agree to that. And, you know, there are good traditions. There are good traditions, but there's also a lot of negative traditions and bad traditions. And so by that logic, it's like, oh, well, if this person is saying, oh, you know, we're donating money to like help people in need or give food to hungry people, and, you know, that's what they're saying to everyone in the church, but then the money is actually being used to fund their own personal lives, or, you know, whatever else. Because in my old church, there was a pastor actually who did this. Like, he took some of that donation tithe money, and he like bought like his own personal like jet, and like it was like a whole thing, and it's just like that kind of really just kind of opened my eyes. I'm just like, I really kind of just really distrusting of a lot of big churches and those organizations, because they say they're going to do one thing, and it's really wrong because they're taking the tithe and donated money from the members, and they're not even using it for what they say they're going to use it for. That's dishonesty. And then it's just the overall like the major like hypocrisy. And I know we're all hypocrites to an extent. Everybody is a hypocrite to an extent, but it's like this major hypocritical stuff. Like they preach about love and acceptance and being a light, but a lot of the times, a lot of Christians or a lot of followers, they're the exact opposite of that, and they're just really preachy, and they're some of them are just, they're such huge hypocrites. Like they'll sit there and talk out the side of their mouth and say, don't do this or don't do, but like what are they doing? That exact thing. And I don't know, I just truly believe as a believer, I value my relationship with God and Jesus. It's not easy all the time, and there's times where I'm not that close with him, but I know that the people who follow him do not represent him. A lot of people just don't represent him properly, and I just want to be that person who can just be, I don't sit here and act like I'm on my high and mighty horse. I admit that I'm also a flawed human being. Every human being really is a sinner. We all, our flesh will fail us. The important thing is, we just try to ask for forgiveness and, repent for our sins. And that's all God really cares about. I mean, he doesn't care about us he knows we never will be perfect on this earth, but a lot of people who are believers, they tend to act like they're perfect, and they're just really just, they just give off a lot of negative energy. And so regardless to say, I got heated in that conversation with my grandma, and I did apologize to her, before hanging up, but I just said, Grandma, the church thing really gets on my nerves sometimes with you. I agree. I'm not saying that, it's bad to like meet other people, other believers, but like, it's become like such a structural thing for her. Like, you have to go to church on Sunday. You have to wear this kind of clothes. Everything has to be a specific way. I'm like, no, it does not. It doesn't. Humans made it that way. God doesn't care about any of that stuff. Like, and it's just, I don't know. It's like, why is church the one thing that seems to bring up so much conflict? It's just like, it's kind of amazing to me, honestly. It's like, I can talk to my grandma about almost anything, but church is like really the one thing it's like I don't want to talk to her about, because she can kind of act like that, holier than thou, and just kind of judgmental with the church and all that stuff. And I just really don't care for that. I don't care for that. I don't care to be around other Christians who do that. Like, I don't think God appreciates that, Again, I'm not sitting here and saying I haven't judged anyone. I do, but the thing is, I'm honest about it. If I am judging someone, I am judging them. Usually I judge them based on how they're behaving, how they're treating other people. But, I admit that I do that. I admit that I do things wrong. I admitted, I kind of lost my cool a little bit with my grandma, and I apologized to her. But there's a lot of these Christians or believers that they just carry this I'm holier than thou mentality, and it's exhausting to be around them. It's just so exhausting. I'm like, you're not perfect. Your poop doesn't stink any less than anyone else's, and it's just like, get over yourself and stop doing this crap, because you're not gonna really edify or really want to bring anyone to follow God if that's how you're representing him. I don't know. It's just a topic for me about and this is coming from someone who is a believer themselves. I see it all the time, and it really drives me insane, and I really get annoyed with it. And I just wish these people wouldn't be like this and act like this. Like, there's already enough competition in the world. There's already the whole world. It's all very performative, and I feel like a lot of church stuff has become very performative and all about, like, it's a competition. Who reaches out to the most people? Who leads the most people to the church? Or who would it, like? And I'm just like, I don't care about that. I don't care. I mean, yes, it's good to lead people, try to encourage people to come to Jesus, but we can't force anyone to do anything. God gave us free will, and God doesn't force us to do anything. He gave us free will. And, I just think a lot of believers are not really representing God the best way. And I feel like it's the way a lot of them are representing God is really doing a disservice and really kind of driving a lot of people who are not believers to not even consider coming close to God or following God or accepting Jesus. And this is just my thoughts about it. Again, I'm not here to preach at anyone. I'm not that person. I do share that I am a believer, but I'm not here to tell anyone how to live their life. I'm not here to force anyone to do anything. All I can do is talk about my experience and, just be humble and, just try to lead people in the right way. But that's it. I just wanted to get that off my chest. Thank you. Bye.